Good evening, everyone. That's right. It's 8 p.m. It's Sunday. This is episode 11 of 27 Outs. Of course, I'm Ivan alongside Stefan. Welcome back yet again. Things are still great here in New York. Stefan and I had a lengthy conversation about a few things prior to today's show. Yankees are 10 games over 500 for the first time this season. The Knicks start round 2 of the NBA playoffs tomorrow against the Pacers. The Rangers are rocking. I haven't even checked out a hockey game, which is bad for me to do because I would like to see what it's like at least, especially the playoff games.
Playoff hockey is like nothing you've ever experienced in your life.
I've heard.
It'll kill you faster than all these other sports, B.
Right.
Word.
Definitely. But yeah, aside from that, here we are yet again. Shout out to everyone who's watching right now. Of course, as we always say, follow us on Instagram at 27outs3c. And if you are new here, welcome. I'm Ivan. That's Stefan. This is 27 Outs. These are the people who we hang out with weekly. Feel free to join, right? So make sure you subscribe and you won't be able to miss out on any of the content that we put out on this channel. So welcome aboard.
Definitely welcome. And listen, guys, if you help us get to our goal of 100 subscribers, you get bonus content and you get to pick one of the topics on the subsequent show after that. So tell people about us, let them know let them know we're live, let them know what the show is all about. And as the great Kendrick Lamar once said, they not like us.
That's true. I mean, listen, man, I don't think I could even remove myself as being somebody who's a part of this show. If I was an outsider, this show is definitely different. And what I mean by that is, or are rather, the topics that we get into, how we get into those topics, and just who we are as people, right? I think aside from the baseball stuff and everything that we get into on a weekly basis here on 27 Now, Stefan, I think people genuinely like us, and shout out to everyone who lets us know on both ends. Stefan, I know people reach out to you. I've also told you that people reach out to me to let me know that they're watching. Shout out to everyone, man. You guys, it means a lot.
It definitely does. And without further ado, man, let's stop wasting the people's time and get into it, brother.
Let's do it. So is it time? Is it time, right?
It's about that time.
Is it time for baseball to get serious about robo umpires? This is something that I actually understand and why it makes sense for us to finally make it happen. But at the same time, and I don't want to play devil's advocate just yet, but as we get through this topic, I am going to mention something that I think makes a lot of sense.
You know what? Don't save it. Start it off. Kick it off.
Well, what I was going to say is, so I get it. Umpires are, listen, the players can't say it. I'll say it for you. They've been shit as of late, and it's been for quite some time now, right? Not just that, but the fans at home, we see it ourselves. So not only are you as an umpire calling these guys crazy, essentially, for them wanting to argue about a mistake that you made, but we at home know that you are wrong as well. And the fact that Major League Baseball does nothing about this, listen, man, I don't want to say guys have to lose their jobs. I would never want to wish that on anyone. But seriously, I think the same should go in every sport. If there is consistency in the way a ref calls a game, obviously in this case, umpires, listen, man, I think guys need to start getting suspended. Now, I don't know how that would look, but there has to come a time when that is a norm. Like, hey, you messed up how many times within the past month? Listen, you're not calling, let's say, 5 games this month or something like that. I don't know, but something needs to be done.
I have a different way of putting it, but let me see what you think about this. What do you think about term limits for umpires? Where you should only be allowed to do this job maybe like 15 years, 20 years, and then you got to hang it up.
You see, I I feel you, Stefan, but that's tough, man, because the journey of an umpire, and I don't want to, discredit what it takes to become a Major League Baseball player or just a professional athlete, period. But keep this in mind. Umpires also go through the ranks just like players. So it takes them, if not earlier, maybe just as long for them to finally get that call to the show, which is why I really wouldn't want to diminish how long they're allowed to work there. But when you say that, especially considering the amount of mistakes that have been made, it makes a lot of sense.
Also, too, you got to grow with the game. A lot of these umpires are in their 25th, 26th, 27th year, and you've seen a lot of the changes evolve in the game. And maybe your way of calling a game is not adaptable to where we are in the game. Listen, the game's getting faster. The game's getting more athletic. These guys are stronger, bigger, faster than ever, and their reaction times are much faster than the umpires that have been on the field for, 15, 20, 25 years. As you age, your reaction time slows down. So what I would want to see is, along with new players, let's get a new group of umpires in here and let it be known. Listen, we want to make it an ages thing. We just want to make it fair so that all sides are represented. If players retire, umpires should be held to that same standard as well, especially if you see something like the strike zone becomes larger. They're more confrontational. They become more irritable. I'm not saying that you should limit an umpire's ability to do his job and make a living, but I do think there needs to be something put in place where, listen, Quest Tech has done a great job, because as you can see, the number of correct calls is going up by the year. But the thing that I'm struggling with as a fan is, how do you keep telling these young players, the strike zone is what the strike zone is? And these guys are much more sharper. They eat their eyes for the game, the way they see the strike zone. Look at Juan Soto, for example. Look at all these guys look at Luis Arraez in San Diego, who we're going to get to. These guys' eyes are different for the strike zone, bro. And I think when you start to limit the ability of these players and the ability of them to, say, you know what? If we're going to be this precise and these at bats are how we make our money, you as an umpires association have to take that into consideration.
Right. And what I really hate nowadays too is the fact that we have gotten to a point where umpires, like you said, Stefan, they make the call. It is what it is. But not just that, you can't even say anything.
Mm-hmm.
You try to defend yourself in the most respectful way, you just might be tossed.
See, and that's
forget even disrespecting an umpire. I don't think every single player is out here disrespecting an umpire before getting thrown out. Now, I'm sure that's the case for some, but I don't think that's the case for all. And it's just ridiculous, because it's like, damn, I can't call you out for a mistake that you made. Like, you really want to control the game that badly that you don't want to hear me out for the dumb shit that you just did?
See, and this is the thing. If we're going to say that one side needs to be protected, so does the other side. If we're going to say umpires can be here umping till their 24, 25, 26 year seasons, you got to give these players leeway to tell you messed up. It has to be that way. There has to be a balance. And a lot of times I feel like with umpires, you voice some frustration, they look at you and they start chirping. You got something else to say? Like, who are you? My daddy?
I was just about to say
to me. Who are you to tell me what I can't say when you messed up on a call? Because here's the thing. You know what these at-bats are? These at-bats are currency. When you got a young player, let's just use a young player, for example. You got a young player who's out here killing it, who's about to hit arbitration, whose team says, yo, I'm not going to pay you because you struck out 125 times, when in all actuality, he might have struck out 115 times, and the umpire's got 10 calls wrong, and the strikeouts are his fault. But just because that umpire messed up, because there is a human element to this, you cost that man some money.
Speaking of the human element, Stefan, and I'm gonna put myself in the shoes of just a baseball fan, right? Not only as somebody who played up to the high school level,
right,
but just as a fan. as much as we are, and rightfully so, right? Like these guys deserve to be called out. You're doing a bad job, and in this case, Major League Baseball, your boss is not doing what they have to do, then you're gonna get called out by other people, and that us being the fans. But it just, could you imagine there no longer being umpires though, man? It's almost as if they are a part of what we know as baseball.
Yeah,
Like what about like, we'll no longer see ejections. We'll no longer see a lot of players show emotion, at least to that extent, because it'll no longer exist. So in a way, I get your point. It will be better for the game, especially for the players moving forward. But the game that we love, I mean, we just always have seen a guy behind the plate. Can you imagine that?
Yeah, you know what? If you want my honest answer, I think I could. Because if we got everything for a review. Now everything's reviewable. Now everything, you can go back and watch footage. Everything's on video, right? They're doing it in the minor leagues, and it's having some success rates, having great success rate actually, where it's less than 5 seconds. Yo, Blue, you got that call wrong. All right, let's go review that. Now that's not going to eliminate the umpire completely. The umpire is still going to have a say in what goes on, but it's about trying to get the calls right. You're playing at the highest level, and you can't keep taking at bats away from these guys who work so hard to get here. Just like you mentioned, the umpires worked hard to get here, but this ain't about the umpires. It's about the players on the field. Right. Now, everybody says, yo, but why can't you voice your frustration? Now, there's certain things you just can't say. You can't tell an umpire to go fuck himself. You know what I mean?
I would, honestly.
No, but I know you would, and I probably would do the same, but there's certain things you just can't say. Even though we at home would like to say it.
You want to know? Let me share a quick story to you, Stefan.
Go ahead. I'm here for it.
So a few years ago, this was back when I was playing for a softball team that I no longer play for. I was playing center field for them at the time, and we just so happened to have an ump calling the game who wasn't all that loud in terms of calling strikes, whether about a ball was foul or fair. You understand my point?
Gotcha.
So it got to a point during the game where I think he had called something fair that we had all thought was foul. But because he wasn't loud enough, I guess his response was, well, I had my hand like this towards fair territory. Therefore, you guys should have known.
Okay.
And I get it, because you have umpires who do both. You got umpires who would shout it out, and you have umpires who would also make the hand gesture. But being in the outfield, I got to hear you, bro. Like, I'm not following you. I'm following the ball. Right or wrong.
Yeah, no.
And in this case, he threatened to throw me out because I had asked him. And don't get me wrong, my tone when I had addressed him originally, it was a little aggressive, and I was pretty loud from the outfield. Yeah. But if I could get that loud, so can you when you're calling whether a ball is fair or foul.
You know what I hate too? You ever seen a guy? Oh, I'll give you a name. Tim McClellan. He's famous for this shit. He'll punch you out, and it'll be the most delayed strike 3 call. You sitting there like, yo, my guy, I was walking back to the dugout like 10 seconds ago. Your arm just went up like this.
Yeah.
What am I supposed to do? Can you differentiate to me what's a ball and what's a strike? And can you do it in a voice in which I can hear you?
Exactly.
Right? So that I get. But I also, there's a very delicate balance. Like, okay, I'm going to get on the Angel Hernandez rant. Forgive me.
Air him out, bro. Air him out. He deserves it.
Angel Hernandez should be nowhere near a major league game whatsoever. Spring training, regular season, damn near not the playoffs. I don't care because he sued baseball a couple years ago and he called it racial discrimination. That why he wasn't given playoff assignments.
It's because
motherfucker. It's because you're horrible at your job.
Exactly.
How many times do we watch this guy screw somebody out of an at bat where you're just like, bro, no, you didn't just call that a strike.
I'm sorry to say this too, And you just mentioned it, Stefan. You know, he was disappointed in the fact that he wasn't allowed to call postseason games. But Major League Baseball, that's not enough. I'm sorry, but stopping a guy from calling games in October, but you allow him to call games from March all the way through September, that's not enough.
And he's costing these players games, money, at bats, salary, all that. Somebody needs to cost him some salary so that it's a fair game. There wasn't that bad a couple weeks ago. He called three straight strikes on Wyatt Langford, and the ball got further and further away from the corner, and he punched him out. And Wyatt Langford's a rookie, so he's not going to argue. But all you see is Bruce Bochy just go like this. And Bruce is not going to argue. But I swear to God, Ivan, if it was me in the dugout, bro, we would have scrapped.
Right.
We would have scrapped.
Or how about this too, though? I think this was a couple weeks ago, actually, when Aaron Boone was thrown out of a game because of something that a fan said and not him.
Yeah. What was his name?
What type of shit is that?
Hunter Wendelstedt threw him out because he thought he said something when it was the fan behind him.
Right.
They were playing the A's. It was a Monday afternoon. I was heated.
Yeah.
Because I'm sitting there going, yo, dog, at some point, you need to be able to control your emotions too.
Right. Like, why isn't there someone the same way that umpires have the replay to protect their ass?
Mm-hmm.
Why can't there be something there where you also let an umpire know, yo, sorry, but you have to overturn that. Like, you must.
Honestly, if you got people in the replay center and they're watching every game, if you see something that looks spotty, yo, tell them come back to the box because I missed it. If we're going to do it for fair or foul, we're going to do it for safer out, we're going to do it for this or that, you got to do it for this too. And honestly, Aaron Judge got thrown out yesterday.
That was ridiculous.
He got thrown out. The ball was literally 2 inches off the plate. It was a ball. And I'm sorry. The dude's 6'7". Are you kidding me with this bullshit? He's 6'7". He's not your normal baseball player. His strike zone should be different than everybody else's because he's a different size than everybody else is.
I agree. Yes.
And then, but it's not like him to get ejected. How many times do I got to get rung up on a BS bogus call for you to look at me like, Aaron, we got that wrong.
Right.
I don't blame him for getting thrown out.
And that's how umpires look.
Crazy.
I mean, if there's a better word than crazy, foolish, I would use it on the show. But the fact that you have one of the most respectful guys in the game itself,
I got the word.
Letting you know that you messed up, and you throw him out for that.
I got the word for you.
You ready? You messed up.
You ready? Let's just use the journalism education that we both gained, right? You know what they are? Inept. That's the perfect word to describe umpiring and refereeing, period. Because the other thing, since we're on officiating, right? I just want to mention this for the record. That 2-minute report in the NBA is the most bogus thing I've ever seen in sports. Go away. If you make a call on the floor, whatever call you make, it stands. I don't want to say, but the 2-minute report said we should have called the travel. You didn't call the travel. So what we're going to do, we're going to go back to that spot and replay the game because you should have called the travel, or L's going to stand either way.
Right.
Same thing. And like, yo, look at that play at the plate in the Met game the other day. Your boy's clearly blocking the plate. What do you expect the Mets to do in that situation?
Mm-hmm.
What do you expect them to do? If I'm Carlos Mendoza, yo, I'm going neck to neck with you, my boy. You got to make sure that you got this call wrong that cost us a game. Right. At the end of the year, what if the wild card spot comes down to the Mets needed one win, and that one win was caused by a bad call that an umpire made? How do you explain that?
Right. And what I think should happen too, and I get it, especially in Major League Baseball, I know a lot of people like to say, there's no action. I don't like it. It's boring. Listen, baseball is also a fast-paced game.
Yeah.
When shit happens, shit might happen faster than any other sport. I'm sorry to say. But I say that because, listen, I don't know if I'm getting ahead of myself, but I think umpires, I get it. Their eyes have to be lasered in on the play. I get it at
Mhm.
all times, even
Yeah.
though we know it's not always at all times.
Nope.
However, I do think that, like you said, Stefan, if a catcher is blocking home plate,
Mhm.
am I crazy for saying that it should be an umpire's job to give him a warning? If not, the runner is automatically safe.
What I would say is no. What I would say is that's why you got the replay center. There's an obstruction rule. There's something in the rule book called obstruction where they clearly tell you, yo, if you're blocking the plate, that's considered obstruction. The run automatically counts. The Met should have been able to tie the game. There's a rule in the rule book called obstruction. I don't know what the exact ruling is, but there's something in the rule book that states if a catcher blocks the plate and doesn't give you a lane to slide, you automatically are safe. It's like when somebody can't turn the double play and the second baseman, the runner runs into the second baseman and you automatically get the double play. That's obstruction.
Right.
Now there's a new rule where the second baseman can no longer block the bag before the ball's in his glove. So the second baseman has to give the runner a chance to slide into second.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing at the plate. Have we not seen what happened to Buster Posey?
Yeah.
So you want the same thing to happen again. Listen, if we want to run into catches again, it's fair game. I'll take you out if you in the way.
Right.
Move. If we're going to do that, then bring back the old school way. Seriously, I'm for it. I really am. It's disgusting what these umpires are doing, man.
Right.
Disgusting.
So what is I mean, I talked about, suspension. I know you mentioned something about maybe perhaps a decrease in their salaries.
Not even a decrease in their salaries, but
should be the solution.
The solution should be something like this. If there should be like a star system. If you're a 5-star umpire, you automatically get first dibs on playoff games, first dibs on big games. Crews should be assigned based on the magnitude of the matchup.
And just to kind of like paint a picture for everyone watching right now, as well as myself, when you say a 5-star umpire, I'm assuming you're talking about guys who make very little to no mistakes, correct?
Yeah.
Because you might make an occasional mistake.
Yeah.
They're humans. No matter how much work they put to get into the position that they're in right now in their lives, I could see the greatest umpire ever messing up once or twice. But it's a great way to break it down that way, because I think that should also tie into the whole salary standpoint. So 5-star leveled umpires make X amount.
Right.
4, 3, 2, and I mean there should never be a 1. I mean,
and honestly, there should be a relegation system for umpires. Yo, if you get below 3 stars, we send your ass back to the minor leagues.
Yo, as funny as that sounds, that is a great point. That is a very good point.
At this point, if you can't uphold the responsibility of policing the game
they
in
should
the
get
manner
called down.
It was meant. You should be just like if a player is not performing well, you should go through the same rigorous standards.
I like that idea, man. I like that idea.
And if you don't want to go down, you're subject to having your umpire license revoked.
Right.
That's it. Because these games are way too important. There's way too much money on the line for you to be telling these players, no, we're going to throw you out anyway. What? And you know there's going to be a point where we come back to this, and this becomes a point of topic again, a point of conversation again, because every so often you watch a game and you realize, yo, this umpire is absolute dog feces, dog. He's garbage.
Right.
How you have a job, I don't know, but somebody, honestly, and here's the other thing I thought of, and we're leaving now. Who knows how many of these umpires are on the take? Because you got baseball in bed with all these gambling sites, right? They humans too. Yo, I got 400 down on this team. So if it goes this way, I might call it that way. You know what I mean? Like that needs to be part of the conversation as well. It's not right now, but I guarantee you there's going to be story. There's going to be a story, if not now, in the next 2 to 3 seasons, where somebody is indicted for gambling on games that they called.
Man, it's tough, man. Being a sports fan, I know we're talking about baseball as we always do here every Sunday, guys, but it's tough just as a sports fan, period, to just with the way gambling is promoted these days, and the
Mm-hmm.
fact that it's getting legalized here, legalized there, damn near everywhere at this point.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yo, you just never know what is really going on behind the scenes.
Yep.
Like, no matter how you want to, mention the fact that these guys are humans, right? No matter how much that you want to mention that they have emotions, just like we do, there's always that aspect where the guys who call the game,
Mm-hmm.
what could they be possibly be doing that nobody even has a clue about? Now, these things have happened before, but nobody look at the Ohtani situation. Nobody knew he was doing that with the Angels, but it comes out while he's with the Dodgers.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you just never know.
Yep. And who knows what baseball is sliding under the rug? But
listen, man,
that's
there's a
there.
lot that may sound crazy to some people, but if you're one of those people, really understand what I'm getting into, as well as Stefan, especially because, listen, man, you may not see it now, and I've seen this with Stefan. Stefan and I have known each other for 9 years, 10 years next year, actually.
Ain't that
But
crazy?
I've known Stefan. Yeah, we getting old, bro. I'm turning 30 this year. Like, I want to stay in my 20s forever, but unfortunately, nobody has found a recipe for that. So I'll be 30 in September. But Stefan has mentioned things long before it happens, and I have been like you guys once upon a time where I look at him and I'm like, yo, what drugs are you on? Because I don't see that. But it's not drugs, actually. It's something that actually takes place at its own time, if that makes sense. So whether you see it or not, listen, it may not happen, but sometimes it actually does.
Yeah, listen, sometimes you got to be willing to watch the tea leaves, guys. Like, watching the games are cool. Those things are cool. But you got to be able to follow a trend in the front office with the umpires. Like, sports is all about trends and numbers, guys. And when you get to the point where you start to really dig deep, because listen, me and this guy went to school for journalism. So the first thing they tell us in journalism school is, yo, there's more to the story. Find out what that is. And when you get to the source of it, don't be afraid to have them looking at you crazy. Because most journalists are looked at like, nigga, where you get that news from? Who you talking to that? You know what I'm saying? And we have to be willing to be the show that says, yo, I know y'all don't really want to talk about this because this is the black hole. This is the third rail. This is the things that are going to offend people. But if you really about your business and about informing the public, then that should be your ultimate goal. Yes, we want to have fun. We want to entertain you guys. We want you guys to feel like this is a safe space, but we want to tell y'all the truth.
Yeah.
And if that's too much for y'all, then I don't know what to tell you.
Let's get into these comments because we do have quite a few here.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start off with the first one. Rick says he likes my idea of punishing umpires when they make mistakes. Angel Hernandez needs to go. Yes, he does.
Shout out to you.
I think there is a special place for people like Angel Hernandez. I don't know what it should be called, but you can name it whatever you want.
Relegation. Get him out of here.
Strike call reviews are also necessary. Yeah, it's and that's the tricky part too, Rick, because baseball is already long as it is.
Mm-hmm.
So, if baseball were to incorporate something like that moving forward, it's a little contradicting when you were just complaining and actually committing to what fans wanted, which is baseball games that are 9 innings long, but not 3 hours
on
long.
the 3 hours, right? Yeah. I got it.
Rick says, and knowing the Mets, that's likely to happen. 1 game short of the wild card, and it's that game. Damn.
I'm sick. If I'm a Met fan, bro, and that happens, yo, Rob Manfred won't stop hearing from me. Woo-wee!
That Aaron Judge call was garbage.
Garbage. That's great, and that's the great point. That's the great way of looking at it. Because listen, like I said, he's different than anybody else. You know what I'm saying? So we have to approach him as such. His first career ejection, which is crazy, which means
right.
He must have said the magic words, which you know, I heard he told him, "You've been shit all day." And the umpire turned around. Yo, foul play in the building. What's
Shout
up,
out
bro?
to him, man. Another dude who we've known going back to our college days as
You know what
well.
I mean? Foul play in the building. What's up, man? Um, talk about old LOL. All right, man. All right, man. Yo, you laugh. Ray's gonna outlive us all, kid. This guy's been the same size, same height. He gonna outlive us all. We're gonna be old as dinosaurs. This dude gonna be still looking good.
Yo, shout out to Ray, man. You're definitely somebody who come
Definitely, man.
showtime, you're here rocking with us, bro. I appreciate that.
Appreciate you. Speaking of rocking, man, let's get to the next topic. I need your thoughts on this. I need you to come out the gate firing because I have a crazy ass thought, but I want to stay in mind for after you go. So
Right.
get yours off.
So we talked about this. I wouldn't even say briefly. I think we only exchanged like less than 10 words about this topic before the show
Before
began.
I cut you off, no, you called me inside baseball. For those who that don't think we be
Right, yeah, we were
sitting
on the
here
phone. I forgot that part
researching,
too.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean? That we don't do this out here.
Yeah,
I call him. I was like, yo, I got a topic for an idea. What you think about blah, 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 blah. And he was about to give me a whole dissertation. I was like, all right, yo, I'm going to cut you off. I'll call you later because we were about to get into a conversation. So
yeah.
before we got into that conversation, I cut him off because I wanted to save it for right here and now. So
Yeah.
get
Well, first off, I want to say this. All of us should know. For those who don't know, the Padres have traded for Luis Arraez. Luis Arraez is probably, if not one of the best contact hitters in Major League Baseball today.
Got a crazy question for you. Is he the closest thing we've seen to Ichiro?
When you consider average, when you consider the amount of hits over the course of a 162 game regular season, he just might be. Now, the level that Ichiro did it at and for how long is absolutely insane. I think Ichiro did it for like nearly a decade of having like a batting average above 300, 200 hits for all little seasons. But yeah, I would say so. He is today's version, only when it comes to the bat, because Ichiro was better in so many other ways.
Yeah.
His speed was unheard of. Defensively, I mean, climbing walls in Seattle, it was just ridiculous. He had a missile for an arm. But when you just look at Luis Arraez's bat, I think he just might be the closest thing that we have had since Ichiro.
Because I was gonna make another comp, but I felt like this comp was too out there. But he reminds me a lot of Tony Gwynn, man.
Okay.
Left-handed, playing for the Padres now, doesn't strike out at all.
Right.
And this guy is just gonna pepper hits all over the yard. It's left center, right center, this way, that way. You know what I'm saying? And he doesn't do it with a powerful swing. But the next time you know, there's a stat here, and I wanted to point it out. He's the first Padre ever in his debut to have 4 hits in a game.
Insane.
So he walked into the clubhouse, put on his new jersey, and was like, all right, I'm going to go collect 4 knocks real quick. That guy, you want to talk about professional hitter?
I've always loved players like that. I mean, we all love the 5-2 players. You know, we love guys who hit homers, guys who only hit for average. But I like the guys who are not, one, looking to do the most, and 2, who are just absolute professionals at putting the ball in play.
Yep.
I love that.
And I'm going to tell you this, right? I think sometimes we get overwhelmed with, yo, this guy's throwing 100. How do we get around on it? All right. He is the epitome of like, yo, if you showing up and you follow the baseball and you don't let it control you, but you control it, you can hit any speed. It doesn't matter if it's 98, 88, you know. This guy walks up to the box and goes, you ain't getting me out. Try it. Try it.
The one thing that has surprised me a little bit, I would say, when it comes to Luis Arraez, and Stefan, I don't know if maybe you have heard something about this. If you have, you know, feel free to share. But a guy like Luis Arraez and how great of a hitter he is, as we just mentioned, it does makes me wonder how he goes from team to team so easily. And it also makes me wonder, why hasn't one of these teams locked him up by now? And I'm not saying he needs to get a $300 million deal or anything like that. But at this point, he has shown everyone in Major League Baseball exactly who it is and who he is, excuse me. And it's worrisome, at least for me, to see him go from the Twins to the Marlins and now the Padres.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't get it.
So can I tell you this without offending anybody? He's not valued in the game. He's not valued because he doesn't hit home runs. He's not a great defender. He's a liability on defense. And yes, he hits for a 400 average, but a lot of it is doubles, a lot of it is singles, a lot of it is peppering the ball all over the place. Where in the modern game we pay for power, both on the pitching and hitting side, right? And the thing that I think sometimes gets lost in translation, if he was a better infielder or a better fielder, period, he would be talked about way more than what he is. And listen, that is a skill. If you haven't seen Luis Arraez hit, do yourself a favor and go YouTube a compilation of this guy just getting everything. Inside, outside corner, down the middle, up around his ears. The dude hits everything, right? So I think sometimes we also get lost with, sometimes we just want the sexy guy that hits 40 home runs a year, but he strikes out 200 times. Mm-hmm. This guy's sacrificing power to say, I want to be on base.
I feel like he is the perfect leadoff hitter.
He is, that's what the Padres have been doing, because the reason why the Padres made this trade, I was reading an article by Kevin Acee in the Chicago, I'm not sure, the San Diego Journal. He said the Padres made this move because they're looking for a leadoff hitter, right? They were playing so many guys in that position that's not their role. You know what I'm saying? They didn't want to put Jackson Merrill up there, their top prospect who's in the big leagues now, because that's a lot of pressure for a young guy. You know what I'm saying? They didn't want to move Manny up because they wanted him in the middle of the lineup, and they didn't feel like they had enough offensively to be able to say this will be worth it for us if we did this, right? So I think the Padres' whole motive was, listen, the infield may be crowded, the DH spot may be crowded, but this is your quintessential leadoff hitter, which leads me – go ahead.
So we've talked about this before on previous episodes, Stefan. And for those of you guys who have stuck around from the beginning up until episode 11 today, shout out to you guys. We talked about the passing of the San Diego Padres owner,
Peter Seidler.
Right. May he rest in peace. But we were also asking ourselves, like, what is this new ownership going to do moving forward? Like, are they going to try to tear this down at some point? Are they going to try to add on? Are they going to try to rebuild? There were a lot of question marks, especially with the way that he spent money. So now you make this trade for Luis Arraez. We know what he's capable of doing, and I'm sure he's going to do exactly that for the Padres, which is what they want. But what does this mean for the Padres and their fan base? What are they trying to do here? Because I've gotten to a point where, bro, if it didn't work out with Juan Soto and Josh Hader and Blake Snell last season, who is it going to work with then?
So I'm glad you mentioned this, because 95.5% of this is on AJ Preller. AJ Preller, the GM of the Padres, he's a mover. He's a shaker. He likes to shake things up. He likes to make unpredictable moves. He did it once again with Dylan Cease before the season started, and now here with the Luis Arraez thing, right? So we've seen him do this from time to time. This is who AJ Preller is. He's a go-for-it kind of dude, right? Which is all well and good. But if it didn't work out with Josh Hader, it didn't work out with Juan Soto, if it didn't work out with the players you just mentioned, how many kicks at the can do you get before you realize, like, I understand what you're trying to do, but it hasn't worked out under your tenure. Right. So my whole question is do we believe that he's the guy that's going to put the next Padre team together that's going to make a deep run into the playoffs? This is why I'm going to tell you. I know the Padres did what they did. They added, and they're one game under 500 because they lost today. They got blown out 11-4 by the Diamondbacks, but they won the first two games of that series, right? But the thing I look at with the Padres is you guys are good. You're a good team. right? But what they have is not sustainable to me. And I don't know how you feel about it, but I feel like it's very superstar flashy driven. But when
Mm-hmm.
it comes down to the playoffs, is there enough substance there to say, yo, this is worth it? Because you got a lot of guys on the team that are skilled individuals. Manny Machado still very good at his job. Fernando Tatis still very good at what he does.
Xander Bogaerts.
Xander Bogaerts, who looks like that contract's going to age very poorly. He came into today hitting 216, right? He looks like the bat speed's kind of slowing down for him a little bit. He
Which
can't,
is crazy because Xander Bogaerts, as we have known him for as long as we've known him for it, he has always been known as a guy who hits for average.
and
Even
right now,
going back to his days with the Boston Red Sox.
yeah, but that just goes to show you, man, age is a different thing, man. You got guys throwing harder now than at any other point in the game's history. Also, the other thing that I find interesting is that at some point, all these guys are going to age together. Manny, Xander, Dylan Cease, Joe Musgrove, who they put on the IL today with elbow inflammation. So, as a precautionary move that you see down there, you know what I'm saying? And it's hard, man, when you got all these things that you're trying to do and trying to remain competitive at the same time. So it's like the Padres keep kicking the can down the road. How many kicks at the can do you get before you realize, like, yo, the can ain't gonna stand up, my boy? Like, we got to try a different direction here. And listen, you mentioned something earlier, and I want to go back to it because I thought it's very key to this conversation. But who's to say this new ownership group is going to allow? First of all, this ownership group is a transitional ownership group. They're in the process of finding another owner to take this over for the long haul, right? This person just stepped in the shoes for Peter Seidler because he died due to health complications. But if they were to put the Padres back on the market, because it's still in the Seidler family, it's just a friend, not a friend, but it's just a family confidant who's running the franchise in terms of ownership for the family.
Right. Sounds like maybe his estate.
Right. So when that becomes a thing and when that changes, how does AJ Presla's calculus change? Or how much money can I spend? How many prospects can I keep giving away to win right now when it's just not getting us to the point where this is going to be worth it, right?
Yeah.
You're in the division with the Giants. You're in the division with the Dodgers. You're in the division with all these teams that are kind of in the same level. So when do you realize, like, all right, I gotta put this away and I gotta go a different route, not only for myself but for the sake of the family, because you don't know where the money stops and where the restrictions begin.
Right. Let me say this: as a baseball fan, as someone who just likes watching the game of baseball, I want this to work out for the Padres.
Me too.
I want to see that trio of Bogarts, Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis Jr., as you mentioned. Now, you could add even a fourth name, Luis Arraez. I want this whole thing to work out for them.
Me too.
But I'm also going to say this. Boy, that fire sale, though. When that fire sale happens, I want to see how they tear this thing down.
See, but it might be too late. It might be too late because as these guys continue to age and the contracts become larger and larger and bigger, and the deals become harder to move, then that's when you start looking at it like, yo, did we hold on a little bit too long? Because as far as I'm concerned, Fernando Tatis should be a name at the deadline that's moved. You might have to flip Luis Arraez again, depending on where you are, right? Like,
I feel so bad for that guy, man.
Depending on where you are in the season, because there's two things that concern me, right? Team ERA. Their team ERA is 4.16. I looked it up earlier today. They're scoring 5.8 runs per game. But they're 21st in pitching. They're 6th in offense, but 21st in pitching. Their bullpen's really bad. Their bullpen has been a struggle for the entire season, right?
I mean, I saw that coming after the departure of Josh Hader. Sorry.
Yeah, but it goes deeper than Josh Hader because they were having bullpen issues last year, even with Josh Hader being the closer. Right. So at some point, it's like, yo, do we got Xander for 9 more years after this? We got Manny for 7 more years after this, or 8 more years, or whatever's left. Fernando's getting paid. What he signed for 14 at 340.
Something ridiculous like that.
We got him for like 10 more years. Like, at what point do we like, all right, bro? I know it's working in the moment, but the thing that's troubling to me is they only have a plus 18 run differential. You think it'd be bigger than that with that offense you got? For the run differential to be that close, that's something that if I'm a Padre fan, that's a bit concerning to me.
Yeah,
Because
if I'm a Padre fan, and listen, man, the Padres, they haven't made other than that NLCS appearance a couple years ago, they haven't really made a lot of noise in the playoffs. And I'm not trying to be funny. I'm not trying to, downplay the franchise and the fan base, but it just is what it is, right? Even similar to the Knicks. Like the Knicks are finally good. And listen, even you could admit it too, Stephen, they've been bad
for a long time.
But in the Padres case, listen, man, I just don't think building a team with household names is the way to go for that franchise.
Yeah.
It just isn't.
Which is why, to use an NBA comp, look at what Phoenix just did. Anthony Edwards was like Kevin Durant, who? Bradley, who? Yeah. What? Devin, who? What? Who? Nah. That Jokic with Denver, Murray, Jokic, Porter, don't matter. Y'all gonna get taken out too, right? And this is why I'm gonna reveal something. I'm a proponent. I like ball players, right? I like guys that they go to the yard and they give you everything they have, even if they're not the most skilled at their position, right? And there's one team in the big leagues that reminds me of that right now, and that's why this team's gonna be a tough out in the playoffs whenever they get eliminated. If they get eliminated, I look at the Orioles and I'm just like, yeah, I got a bunch of ball players. Gunnar Henderson's a ball player. Adley Rutschman is a ball player. Same thing in Texas. You got Corey Seager's a ball player. Trevor Simeon's a ball player. Wyatt Langford's a ball player. All these guys, Bruce Bochy knows the game of baseball. Been around a long time. Right? You start looking at teams and you realize, oh, these guys are ball players. That's why I'm not a fan of the Braves. I know the Braves, they got the names, Acuna, Albies, this one, that one. That don't work. I need ball players. And that's why, to me, you look at, you know what's crazy? You know who I like to watch? The A's.
Right.
The A's this season are full of ball players. The kid Hooker, they got that kid Mason Miller, their closer.
I was just gonna mention him too.
Oh my Lord, he should be illegal. The pitching they got, come on. You look at the Oakland A's, you're like, where you guys come from? You know, JP Sears, what they got from the Yankees, and a couple other guys that you're like, I didn't know, Ross Stripling's going to be big for them at some point in the season. He's pitching for them. So it's like Oakland, ball players. Tampa had this for so many years. They have ball players, bro. Like, as a baseball fan, you could differentiate between that's a team just full of stars, and that's a team full of ball players.
That's right.
Right? And that's why when everybody says, yo, the Yankees are gonna do it, I'm like, do they have enough ball players? Soto's a great ball player. Judge, great ball player. Stanton, not a ball player, home run hitter. Rizzo, not great defensively anymore. Very offensive minded. Volpe, ball player, very young though. Verdugo, ball player. You know, like there's a chasm between star and ball player.
So to bring it back to the Padres, I just want to make it clear in terms of like where you are with the team, not just now but also moving forward as the season progresses. If you're the Padres, are you giving yourself from now up until the deadline to see what this new team is about before you start doing anything?
So I'll tell you this,
are you doing things regardless of how good the team even is at that point?
They got till I want to say middle of June. I'm giving you to the middle of June because I don't want to wait till the deadline happens, because everybody waits to the deadline and then nothing happens. So for me, middle of June is a fair indicator about where we are and where we expect to be, right? So if I'm AJ Preller and I'm in that front office, my conversations are like this. You got a 6-week window. If in this 6 weeks you lose more than you win, first of all, AJ Preller might not have a job, because if I'm ownership, I'm looking at his performance. You brought in Luis Arraez, you brought in all these guys. I want to see how this looks, bro.
Right.
Because at some point we have to have a conversation about the roster construction.
Yeah, it's more than just bringing this guy together and that guy together. It's more than just bringing all these top tier talents together all on one team. Like, I get it. They are a team, essentially, especially when you consider the organization and the fact that they are professional athletes. But at the end of the day, when you really get to the root of what a team truly is, listen, what AJ Preller has done, I'm sorry, he thinks he's playing MLB The Show. I know that sounds ridiculous, but when you really go down the list of names who he has acquired while being a part of the Padres organization, it's almost a damn video game.
It's crazy. And here's the other thing. If we're leaving at this point. We always talk about, like, how do you build it after the reckoning happens, right? What does after the effect look like? They're ranked like 25th in terms of prospect depth. They just traded 3 more of their quality prospects in this deal to get a rise. And you're like, bro, you did it for Cease. You did it for Soto. You keep emptying the cupboard. At some point, you have to replenish that cupboard with players that can actually contribute and play for you well enough. And you keep sending out capital, that when these players begin to age and it all slows down. And that's why they have to win the World Series. Them, the Dodgers, they have to make runs, because at some point, when the older players begin to get old, your farm system is not going to be able to fill in the gaps because you sent all these guys away.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? This is going to be a tough road to hoe. And honestly, that's why AJ Preller might not be the guy. I understand he's a gunslinger, but is he the guy that's going to put a team together? Because this is what it is. It's a team sport. It's a team game, right? And I understand you want to make the move that everybody goes, oh my God, he just made the move. I get that. The awe factor is good. It's like, to use a name in wrestling, right? You remember Vince Russo? You remember hearing the name Vince Russo? He was a writer in the Attitude Era. How many swerves do we get, bro, before you're like, all right, swerve is no longer a swerve because it's predictable. If you didn't see Luis Arraez being a Padre, then you're not paying attention. Because AJ Preller lives for guys like that. Steese, Preller, Soto, Hader. Like, there's a track record. Manny. He loves this stuff, right? You just said he's playing MLB The Show. At what point do you start to realize, like, dude, it ain't working. It ain't working. And it probably never will.
No, I don't think so. All right. So before we wrap up, great show as always. Some more comments. WKRB Frat Bros. Yeah. And see, that's one of those things. If you know.
You know.
You know.
You know what I mean?
Ray says there isn't that many guys like that in baseball anymore.
Agreed.
Him at DH is perfect for them.
Okay. I'll stipulate that.
Chicks dig the long ball. Everyone digs the long ball these days.
Yeah, me included.
All right. So before we go, thank you for watching episode 11 of 27 Outs. We hope you guys enjoyed this just as much as we did. As always, make sure you follow us on Instagram for the latest, not just regarding the show, but the latest, literally the latest in baseball at 27 Outs 3C. And of course, to YouTube. Make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe, tell a friend to tell their mother, their uncle, their father, and all your relatives.
I'm going to tell you this. There should be some breaking news going up on the channel within the next, I want to say, 40 minutes to an hour. Let's just say I got some news that is gonna rock you guys. I'm not gonna get into it right
By
here.
the way, I don't know what this is, so he has me anxious, just like you guys are. So I will be there in about 40 minutes.
So I'm gonna tell Ivan off the air, but I will tell you guys this. This is the reason why you're gonna want to come back and rock with us, because we're gonna get you scoops that you don't see a lot in baseball. So also, and if it's worth our time, you know, and you guys really want to rock with us, man, get us to 100 views. We'll give you the bonus clip on that very breaking news topic if you help us get to 100 views. So there it goes. You want the breaking news? You want to know what I'm referring to? Help the boys get to 100 views.
Yeah.
All right.
And before we leave, man, I know at some point, you know, midway through this week, the Knicks and the Pacers are going to be a few games into that series. So shout out to them. Shout out to the Rangers. I got to make sure I watch a playoff game.
Talk about it.
Stefan, any last words before we wrap this thing up?
I ain't gonna give you a prediction because it's too early in this thing to say that, but I will say, let's go Knicks in the Garden this tomorrow and Wednesday is gonna be like nothing we've ever seen. So let's go Knicks, Rangers. I think it's gonna be a long summer for the guys at the Garden, man. I think we're gonna be playing deep into June. Holla at your boys.
And we out.